This is Into the Unknown, Season 5, Episode 6. John, today we have a very special guest, and we already know what this interview sounds like, and it was great, wasn't it?
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
It really was.
So you see by the name of the episode, Tarot with Meliana. We're going to talk with Melanie, who is a tarot card reader, and I don't really think we need to say much. Let's just get right to it. Today, John and I are joined in the Sykesville studio with Melanie Klimas. Did I pronounce that correctly?
That's the correct pronunciation.
All right, Melanie. Well, welcome. Melanie is a practitioner of the art of tarot card reading. And it was just a matter of time until John and I and Into the Unknown discussed tarot, and I don't know, I couldn't think of a better person to have come and talk about this divination art than you, Melanie. So welcome.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here.
We're really excited.
Yay, glad to be here.
Yeah, we were just mentioning, we were just seeing the array of tools. I'll call them tools, things that are before you, and we're going to get to that, and because we just very excited about everything about this art. But first, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'd like to know a little bit about you, Melanie. How did you get involved with tarot?
Yeah, it was there were dinosaurs, and we were stealing fire from each other's caves, stuff like that. You
Good.
know.
Okay.
I was a teenager, and I saw a deck of tarot cards, and I was like, this is so cool. I had a lot of friends who were artists. I was in the art adjacent world. Mm-hmm. So I was drawn in by the art. And then I had a birthday party, shout out to Corey, when I was 12, where it was a slumber party, and we were all playing with the Ouija board. Scared,
excellent.
Right? Scared everything,
story.
right? Scared
Yep.
everything out of each other. But it
Yep.
opened up some real things. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So I just stayed with the curiosity. Friends and family would ask me to read for them, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I've started charging. I was doing something else for a living, but I started charging 1981, I think would be
wow.
I know, right? The
Well,
start
it
of
wasn't the
professional
age.
stuff.
It wasn't the year I was going wow at. It was like you went right into like adopting it and reading. And
Yeah, I just kept going and going
Yeah.
and going. It's a rabbit warren. It's not a rabbit hole. It is a rabbit warren. You can just keep getting sucked in. There is just so much to learn with this art form.
Well,
Right.
we hope so. That's why we
Yeah,
have a podcast.
big
yeah.
Right? So it just kept drawing me, and I was lucky enough to have one mentor that I worked with for about 4 years in California, and another 4 years with another mentor in New York. Both of these were ladies from the Theosophical Society. Both of them had passed off the planet.
Okay.
Fascinating.
And they were doing more than just tarot with me, but that was really where I got the importance of the feedback loop. I mean, a lot of what they did was, and you'll see I still do it, I take notes on every single reading. I write out the spread.
Okay.
I note the deck that I use, and I take a recording of it. So that way, when somebody comes back, if I've screwed up, I can listen, I can look, I can go, where did I miss something?
Wow.
So it's much more process-based.
That's procedural, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
I
And
love
I-
that. Now, is that an you said that was an adoption from the Theosophical Society?
Yes, yeah, because they were their most of their training for me was having me do readings, and then we would go back after the feedback. What did you miss? What are you doing a good job of getting to?
Wow.
How does this, how do you interact with this deck or decks?
That's quite fascinating.
Yeah, I did not expect
Yeah,
that.
I didn't either. I mean, on the one hand, you're telling me that you've got 2 feet right in the roots of spiritualism, and then to tell me that there is procedure behind it, I just did not expect that at all. It's
No,
fascinating.
right, not
And that's-
everybody works
and
that
I
way.
love that about it. I'm saying that's a good thing.
I agree. I prefer to be really grounded. We touched briefly on the fact that there's skepticism, and then there's wholehearted
Right,
acceptance, and the whole spectrum in between. But
Right.
I don't have a problem with skeptics. If this art form is not communicating something,
Right.
well, then it's it's a cool thing, but maybe not to be used the way we're
It also
intending.
Yeah, it also struck me that it's not as transactional as I expected. I mean, the whole stereotype of you go into the tent and the person with the turban and they put the cards down and then the person being read heads the revelation, scares and run out of the tent and it's over. But you're talking about something that happens not just once but over time, and the relationships involved with all that, because not just the individual client, but you seem to be doing this for yourself as well. I mean, that's fascinating. Not what I expected.
Yeah,
No.
if I didn't enjoy this,
Right.
life's too short. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. Well, we just got done talking about jobs that are like, not so great, right?
Right?
On
Yeah.
our end.
Yeah, so this is an amazing job to have.
Yeah,
and it's
I
a
see
very,
that.
I have to say, it's a very cool way to interact with people because I get to deal with kind of the best of people's potentials. Also, some of that,
Yeah.
we're human, we're not all pretty.
Right.
Um,
right.
Really?
But I know, right? So sorry to burst your bubble. But it's very cool when you're sitting with someone with their potential and they're being open to the possibility that, oh, I could be that.
Right. Right. Yeah, and we before we got started, before you arrived, John and I were talking about the need for. Sometimes folks have a need for authority. Like, I need something that gives me permission to do this, even though it may be something they're thinking. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but
that's okay.
And in some cases, maybe this can be the impetus that people need. And I'm sure you've run across
I hear that from
right?
a lot of people, and it's both a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because me as the authority figure, honey, you're in the wrong place. I am a bad choice for an authority figure. I'm just a messenger here.
Right.
Validating something that you've suspected about yourself, man, I am happy to do that for you.
Yeah. So John, just to step back very quickly, John had sort of painted the picture of the turban and the smoky room and the crystal ball on the table and the knocks and this the performative part of that.
Yeah.
Do you want to remark on that? Because I'm seeing a real dichotomy between sort of the Coney Island guy with the little corner shop, right? Or but like, no. We have a process. This is something that you can come and learn definitive, life-changing, information from. What's your thought on that?
I actually have a lot of thoughts on that, and I want to make sure that I'm in context here. There is a huge variety of extremely capable and competent tarot readers who will have a totally different process to me.
Okay.
So there is not one way of doing tarot.
Okay.
And there is that entertainment sort of thing. And then there's my background is more in the counseling direction. And this is where I was really surprised to wind up at Ren Fairs. I had a couple of friends who were like, no, you really need to get to Ren Fairs. And I said, no, I really don't, because people are there to have fun. Why do they want to dig into their stuff? And I don't know, 10, 15 years later, to my surprise, I am always busy.
I could think
People
of
wanted
some
to get into
reasons, having attended Ren Fairs over the years, I could think of reasons why you're being so sought after there. They're everywhere you go, there are people, and people need sorting out. And there's also alcohol.
Well, that too, but I have to tell you that
The courage.
and I understand. If you need a tiny bit of liquid courage to have a tarot reading, do the thing. If you have to get, stumble up the stairs drunk,
Right.
wait for another time.
Yeah, that's true.
And in general, really do. I like for people to follow that leading. I will often have a couple of people who will come. Can my friend sit in with me? Yeah, absolutely. And then they want to pressure their friend to do it. And even if the friend thought that was wonderful, that's amazing. If you don't feel like it's the right time and the right person, don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because sometimes, it doesn't always have to be about, are you a really good reader? There are really good readers who are just less good at connecting with a particular individual than another really good reader. So, go for the one that you feel like, I want to talk to that person.
Yeah.
And that said, at Ren Fair, I don't remember if you've ever tucked your head in my tent, but, I have more stones on the table. There's an hourglass there that's functional, but also, and then there's, the froof on the walls and all the rest of that. So it looks like I have way more makeup and, Ren Fair dress and all the rest of that stuff. So there is a certain amount of atmosphere that goes on. But there's, and we can talk about some of the less savory aspects of tarot, or we can wait until another
the
point.
spiritualism, when we've gone through the histories, there's everything from, there's a spine of this that wants to be that wants to look at, like we've talked about the mechanisms, what's happening here, what's the core of all of this. But then there's also sort of the fringe elements that try and glom onto it or latch onto it in a performative sense, sort of the circusy aspect of it, right? There's a sucker born every minute, and if I have a turban and I can draw somebody in, not do anything really particular, and still get their dime from them. You know what I mean?
And I get it. As long as it stays in the realm of entertainment, I don't have a big problem with people like that. But I do like to differentiate from what I think of as classical accurate tarot and performance, which fun thing. But if you're going to be playing with somebody's life, if we're talking about elements of somebody's life.
And we definitely want to hear the differences, and how you differentiate and how you guide people, and
right, and that's always very individual. But yes, absolutely. It's
almost like the doctor's oath of do no harm, right?
Very much that, extremely that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Ahimsa first, right?
Well, let's pivot over into the history of tarot. I know that John fashions himself a historian. He's observes and remarks on history and would gather what he can and have his own observations. So we always take that bent. I don't know if you did much studying of the history of tarot with the Theosophical Society, or
not necessarily with them, but yes, it was a part of my mentorship. But also, I still read a lot about tarot. You never stop learning.
So can you tell us where it came from?
No, but I can tell you what I've read about what other people know. Right?
That's matching up with what we've got in mind too.
And it's very cool, John. If you have more of that general history, you'll be able to put it more in context, which I can give you, like what happened when. So in terms of the traceable history, I'm going to talk about more of the exoteric, what we can see and we can document, and the esoteric, which is a deeper thing. And I'm going to start with this more outward. So Tarot was basically a card game in Turkey and those kind of areas, and the tarot deck starts there. I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure of the tarot deck, because that can help too.
Please do. This is perfect.
Tarot is basically 5 suits. So we've got 4 suits in a regular playing card deck. And the 5th suit is often thought of as like trumps. We talk about them as majors, major arcana, mysteries, and then the minor arcana is kind of our daily life, the janitor service stuff. So Tarot, my understanding of the playing card game, had those 5 suits, and people still play Tarot or Tarot. But then, and I think we're talking around 1300s, 1200s. Mameluke is a I don't know what to call it, a tribe maybe, that I've heard associated with this. But again, I'm just passing on things that I've heard. I did not make the time to look to see who were these people and what were they doing. Where it started to transition into tarot, the game itself came to Italy and France and those sorts of areas. And especially in Italy, the very wealthy families started commissioning artists to do tarot decks. There's
the pure art of the card.
Yes, very
full deck,
and there would be representations of family members and all of that, the hierarchy.
Oh, sure.
So middle 1400s, I think, is and if anybody reads something different and it sounds more solid than what I'm saying, please do.
I'm going through the Occult in America book, and that's. I'm going to blank on his name, but I quickly went through this as I was skimming across, and it's matching up perfectly with the little bit that I remembered from what I read maybe a couple weeks ago.
This is me holding on to stuff that I don't tend to think of often, but
mostly it's really locking in.
Good, the librarian's still working. Good to know. So again, kind of middle of the 1400s, Visconti Forza is the big family deck. There's a Yale library. Pierpont Morgan maybe is the Yale library. Carey is the Yale library. And then there's a Pierpont Morgan. There is not a complete extant deck of the Visconti Sforza, and there are a couple of different editions, shall we say? You know, but there are various cards in these various collections, so you can actually see, and there has been a reproduction deck done that people can use for readings of this old, very, very ornate gold leaf majors. I think I remember that really what was done was the major arcana, and then the minors were filled in later, but I'm not sure. And then, you know, people went further and further. It was not yet connected with the esoteric, with the idea of spiritual, you know, or foreknowledge or prediction or any of those things. That happened later. That was more like the mid 1700s, and I'm trying to come up with a guy's name, Court de Gabeline.
Yeah.
Somebody.
I mean, I refreshed my memory a little bit, and that name is perfect.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
On.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he started to draw some correspondences there, and started to looking at it as a spiritual tool. And then that continued. That evolution continued. Another important name is Eliphas Levi. He started to. There's a lot of correspondences in tarot. There's not just looking at pictures. There's numerological correspondences, astrological, with the Kabbalah, with the Tree of Life. Probably even more that I don't know about. There's probably folks who have done angels and all sorts of stuff like that. So that started there. There were kind of splits. There's what we think of as the 78 card tarot deck, but there were important things along the way. Minciat deck, which had many more cards, but a similar sort of setup. Etelia, who was basically Aliat spelling his name backward, has a deck, and the again, basic structure, but like it would have different. As you go through 1 to 22 in the major arcana, there would be different order, and there would be different energies, personas, you know, different named cards.
Different archetypes.
Right.
On them.
There was another gentleman in France, and I don't know how his name is pronounced. I've never heard anybody say it. So forgive me for butchering French if I do.
That's all right.
You'll do better than us.
We're all horrible at it.
Papus, Papus is basically. But he did a whole dissertation. He wrote a whole thing organizing a lot of this information. And then we get to, you know, we're passing through, you know, hundreds of years here. We've reached the late 1800s, and we get into all of these spiritual organizations. That are, the Theosophical Society is one. Builders of the Diadem, I think that was Mr. Case. He developed a tarot deck. Certainly, the Order of the Golden Dawn. That was huge. That was huge. Because there we have the Rider-Waite Smith tarot. This is Pamela Smith developing it. Edmund Waite was the gentleman from the Golden Dawn directing her. Rider was just a production company.
Right.
So a lot of people now just call it the Waite Smith deck.
I bought a deck recently, and it's the Rider company. I think is still production, part of the production. I believe.
Cool.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was that branch from the Golden Dawn. There was Mr. Crowley, Aleister Crowley, who came up with the Thoth deck. That was Frida Harris who did the artwork on that, and that was more the 1940s when I think that solidified and kind of took its real form. Rider-Waite Smith is earlier. That's like I think 1909.
Right.
Now preceding all of that is the Marseille tradition. And that's very different. So Rider-Waite Smith and the Thoth deck both have illustrations on all of the cards, whether they're major or minor arcana. The Marseille deck, which is actually where I started, has major arcana illustrations, but then the minors, if you have the 10 of Pentacles or coins or discs, whatever it's being called, you just have 10 discs on the card.
So it's more like playing
Maybe
cards.
With some pretty,
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right. So there's that Marseille tradition, that Rider-Waite Smith tradition, that Aleister Crowley tradition, and then there's thousands of decks now.
Now, the Marseille, is that French? Is that a French tradition? Because I understand there's the part of the reason that there is a Golden Dawn split is that there was a continental version of this, and then there was a UK version of this. Is that started to they really tried to hammer in the esoteric conjunctions and synchronicities.
Very
and,
much. And as there always is with people who know a lot of stuff, there's a whole lot of disagreement.
Right.
So one of the
Right.
major things that happened for anybody who knows a tarot deck, in the majors, the numbering system goes from 1 to 21, sometimes 1 to 22, sometimes 0 to 21. But the two cards that it's most obvious that there was a split are 8 and 11, those two numbers. And one of them is strength and one of them is justice.
Okay.
Or something similar.
Okay.
And that was a place of disagreement where the continent and the UK were like, no, you have these in the wrong order.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
In the Crowley deck, actually, strength is lust.
well, that would be Crowley.
Yeah.
Right?
Say,
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly. And now, artists will just make up whatever they make up, and it's so much fun just to get into the art of tarot, because there's a housewives deck that deals with, there's tons of cats and dogs and,
Right.
other critter decks.
yeah, we had been approached by a group that produced cards
Yes.
of varying displays, right? Different themes. And the one person that they came forward and said, hey, we think you'd be really interested to interview this gentleman that did, what was it, serial killers?
It was
I think.
serial killers.
Yes.
Yes.
Serial
And I
killers?
was like,
Yes.
I don't think I want to mix the tarot and serial killers myself.
No.
Yeah, and I guess giving them energy as we've been talking about them, but at the same time, it was interesting, and we thought, well, maybe let's dip our toe in first, and then
Yeah.
we'll see. Maybe we'll
That might be
reconsider,
a place
or maybe
where
that's,
I wouldn't be comfortable going, because
Well, that's kind of the question that I had. Which
yeah,
is,
I'm not.
What is
there are
what is
people,
making those images? What connections are being made there? you know?
Yeah, that's
And what mind is doing that?
and that everybody's going to give you a different answer. And if I
Yeah.
really knew something, honey, I wouldn't be sitting here and I'd be changing the world, right? But I have my own theories based on what I see happen, and I have my own theories based on what I hear from other people who do this. And it is a real. There's a lot going on. So I tend to think of it in Jungian terms, that the connection with the collective unconscious,
Yeah.
which can be very psychological, but it is very spiritual. I mean,
Right.
it goes way beyond. It's very transcendental or transpersonal psychology. That sort of arena is where I tend to think. And frankly, for that, you don't need a tarot deck. We could
Right.
point to objects around the room, and we could, you point out what object you want me to read, and we'll, we'll read it as connected with your life.
Right.
So my belief system has to do with that sense of collective unconscious, that we're all connected at some unifying level, wherever that
Okay.
is, and that we all have the equipment, whether we use it or not. And frankly, I don't think that our modern society encourages us to use it much.
As a matter of fact, I believe it suppresses it.
I would agree.
And there was, I'm actually reading through, again, I want to mention Mitch Horowitz as the author of The Occult in America. It's fascinating. And I thought I had at least a mention in my head of just about everything, but he came up with Psychiana. Have you heard of this?
No.
I will have. Well, I'm not
put it in the backlog.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the backlog. But it was and I'm not surprised that you've not heard of it, because apparently it was born out of the New Thought movement, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with, adjacent to New Age. And, it's in the same era, 1908. We've got the Kabbalion being written by the Swami of Baltimore. That's what came to mind. But the idea was that, yes, there's spiritualism, but it's really based out of the mind, right? And that you're creating out of the fabric of this, collective unconscious, right? That there is that's the mechanism that's happening in the New Thought movement.
And I would I don't think it can be that easily nailed down. If we want to define, if we want to define mind as more that psyche thing, but in terms of intellectual, and although that does apply, because filters really are a thing. I mean, the way we see the world. I love to use the example from probably Psych 101, where they put a bunch of kids in a theater and say, start counting how many baskets these guys are making.
Yes.
Right? And then they ask the question at the end, so how many times did the gorilla go back and forth?
Right.
And the number of people who actually don't see the gorilla. But we all live lives with that kind of a filter.
Exactly.
So yes, out of this collective unconscious, based on our own filters, we pull out what fits the filter, right? And that's one of the big challenges of learning to work with tarot or any other similar art form, is to be able to, none of us clear our filters completely, but to be able to clear as much as possible, or maybe broaden horizons, or however you want to think of it, because the normal narrow human experience is not going to cut it. And it doesn't mean that I have a huge broad experience. I've just been trained to do slightly different things when information comes in. By the way, people who are ADHD, who can manage that, the pattern recognition as you scamper back and forth non-linearly through life is really helpful in an art form like tarot.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I can think of somebody that reflects. Yeah,
me too.
Absolutely. Well, I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to say about the history. I think we want to bring it up to today. Did you want to? Is there a little bit of a gap there? I think we got as far as the French and English separation, Crowley in the 40s.
Right, and now it's just been constant. There was, I think that probably when I got into it, late 60s, was when there was such a revival going on. And my first deck was a Swiss deck, the Oswald Wirth Marseille tradition deck, right? Rider-Waite-Smith was out there, but it wasn't necessarily the deck. I think it kind of became the deck.
Yes.
And just there's been so much. So when people talk about the original tarot being Rider-Waite-Smith, no, it's not. It also, by the way, it is also not the first deck to have fully illustrated minor arcana. That goes way back, and I can't give you a date on this one. The Solobufska is a tarot deck where the minors are also illustrated, not just with cute little, but actual readable stories.
Interesting.
Yeah. So and that goes back again. I'm going to guess like 14, 15, 1600s. It's very Greco-Roman. Sort of thing.
How do you think it was that the Rider-Waite deck took prominence as the go-to deck? Is it just because it's mass-produced? Is it a matter of just marketing? And
that probably helped, but I think the thing that really works for people, and this is a great way to start with tarot. Yes, you can read the little white book or the big white book, that whatever else comes with it, but really, it's getting comfortable with being able to tell stories based on the imagery. And since Rider-Waite-Smith is so carefully thought out, Marcus Katz and his partner Tally Goodwin have written a fantastic book. I think it's called The Secrets of the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. And they go...
have that in my library.
And it's great. They go through the imagery, and the background of they've done a ton of research. And they are rich and deep illustrations to be able to tell stories from. So I think that has a lot to do with it. It's accessible. People can, without having to hold on to a ton of information.
That's an interesting thought. In my own small little aperture that I'm peering through, which is next to nothing compared to your knowledge, the little white book that comes in the deck, that does an explanation of the picture. Here's what you're seeing, right? You're seeing, 5 young men with their staves in a combat
mock
battle, right? And I drew that this morning with something that I was doing, right? And so,
cool.
But then it says, here's the divination meaning. So I find that fascinating. But I want to ask you about, since you are so clearly knowledgeable of the history and everything that you've talked about rings true with everything that I scanned over very quickly. What about the controversy over the links back? Like, for example, Crowley creating the Thoth deck and its Egyptian core and root, and is it? I know I have opinions on it. What do you think of that?
So my opinion, and it is all opinion, because I was not there.
Right.
I assume you were not there. And if we were there, I don't remember that lifetime.
At least not in this body, I was not there.
I know, that would be a deep trick.
Yeah, I want to find out.
So my thought on the esoteric, this is where we get into the internal lineage. There's certain levels of truth. When I think in terms of kind of like ultimate truth, there's something bigger than us, and they all seem to say, don't be a jerk. So
still working on that.
I know, right? Yeah, we were having that conversation this morning. Are you really a nice person? I'm not.
John's a nice person.
There are a lot of very nice people, and most of us have places where we're not so nice.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
that's we got to integrate the light and the dark.
Right.
We do.
So
We've got to integrate it all.
Yeah, it's growth. You
Yeah.
know, evolution, personal evolution.
Yep.
You know, bigger human evolution. So this idea of Thoth, who is the Egyptian version of Hermes, Trismegistus.
Oh yeah.
if
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying it
Yeah, we're
wrong
familiar.
also.
We've been down that road.
Right. So that idea of being able to trace what Jung would call archetypes back to this, you know, ancient spirituality, yeah, it tracks. Did actual gypsies coming from Egypt, Romany, bring it forward to? I don't know.
Right.
Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But the metaphorical truth, if not the literal truth, I think is there. That's my opinion on it.
Of course,
you know.
Jung's interest in all this, he's always one for the
Right.
archetypes being across human culture and civilizations.
Yeah, they transcend
yeah.
time and place, and
Right.
I'm of a similar opinion, right? I mean, I think, you know, most people want to see, well, I don't see Egyptians in hieroglyphics trading cards or doing a layout, and it's like, okay, I get that, right? And
But it may not be that direct.
it's not that direct, right? They were maybe dealing with the archetype themselves, right? So I
Also,
appreciate
they
that
have
point
all
of view.
those beings with different, you know, like the bird
The
heads and all
ibis
this
and
other
the-
stuff, right?
yeah.
So, you know, what does all that mean? That's certainly, and there's people I know who can answer that.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense to me that it would be similar sorts of things, you know.
Yeah, and we had run across that when we again, I mentioned the Kabbalah, and it's something that I find just fascinating, and you know, I love that a lot of this is built out of New Thought movement, or it's parallel to it. But the same arguments are made there. You know, are these really the 7 principles you know, that govern the universe? It's like, and is this really come from Greek and Egyptian, you know, philosophy?
Or
the
further
guy
back.
the guy wrote it in Chicago in a Freemason building in, you know, downtown Chicago. Is this really Egyptian? And it's like, well, yeah. I mean, it's coming through that lineage. Was it the book come fully formed right out of Egypt? No, probably not. But all these ideas seem to follow through, or at least, you know, if you recognize them, you can find them.
Right? There seems to be very little that's new. I mean, even the scientific
Exactly.
discoveries, it often harks back to something. Helena Blavatsky from the Theosophical Society wrote extensively on way more than I will ever understand. But she talks about some things that quantum physicists, have been able to name and locate. So, and she's going from the way back stuff.
Yeah.
We haven't really covered Madame Blavatsky
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
ourselves
we have
yet,
not-
but
not
we're
covered
familiar.
her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's something else.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, but the echoes of a lot of these scientific principles that we're talking about today do sort of have their correspondence in some of these statements, as above and so below, right? The sort of the male and the masculine and the feminine, right? All is mind, right? And which is one of the first principle in the Kabbalion. But a lot of these, apparently, science is starting to peek beneath, into the mechanism, and starting to see that some of these correspondences, with some thought, are starting to echo these very things. And not to mention that, mathematicians will tell you that it's math really that underpins everything across the universe. And I noticed on your website that you work in numerology as well. And so, all right. Well, I don't know if John, was there any thought that you had that you'd brought from your historical knowledge that you wanted to?
No, you didn't. I'm the arbiter.
I'm quite jealous, frankly.
Yeah, I was very jealous, actually. Clearly, I had to refresh my memory. I did some skimming to prep for this, and I'm just curious where we might go and different. But you covered it all.
Good,
It was
great.
beautifully done from memory.
Really did.
Cool.
Yeah.
And there are some great books out there for people who want to. One of the, I'm not going to remember the authors, and I'm so sorry, but it's called A Wicked Pack of Cards.
Okay.
A Wicked
that sounds
Deck of
interesting.
Cards. It's a great look.
Okay.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, please make a note.
Stuart Kaplan of U.S. Game System was an incredible collector and has a 4-volume encyclopedia. And the first volume gets into a very thorough historical look. So that's a great place to go as well.
What was that? What was that last one?
The second one, Stuart Kaplan.
Stuart Kaplan. Okay.
And I think it's just an encyclopedia of tarot. But again, we're talking 4 volumes, and the first volume does a lot of the historical.
Now, I guess I do have some cleanup questions about that. Have you ever played the tarot game or seen it played?
No. And I'm very curious about that. No, I have not.
I've never seen that.
All right.
But I understand it's similar to, and I don't know much about card playing, but card games that use trumps, I understand that it's similar to that, but that's the extent of my knowledge. I think that you can find tarot key packs and the instructions.
With the internet, you can find anything these days.
So you were meaning like the card game.
The card
right?
game.
This is how you would play like Pinochle with this deck or whatever. Okay, I thought maybe there was like a Parker Brothers tarot game, and I'm like, John is very good at like the cultural tie-ins, right? He can tell you like movies, like popular movies. That's not
cool.
me. I thought maybe there was a game you knew about.
But there are also tarot decks based on that sort of thing,
right?
Film and TV and all the rest of that.
The last tarot card deck I bought was not the serial killers, but it was the Cthulhu deck because it was really cheap and I couldn't let it go.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, cool.
It was like $5 for the deck. I was like,
nice. That's a good find. And actually, that is a thing. I've been in this long enough that some of my decks are out of print and they are worth like $5,000 or $6,000. Will I be selling them until I die? No.
Whoa.
Do I bring them out and use them out of my house? Never.
Right.
Don't go looking for my house.
Yeah, right.
I never thought, John, in a million years, we would stray into this kind of discussion like
Collector's Corner?
Yeah, like
there is. Oh my God.
I'm curious about
touch
that
that deck?
thing.
No, it stays on the shelf. Why would I touch it? I want it to be pristine.
Mine are used. I'm not a collector, but there are people who, that's what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are sites that cater
I
to
know
them
collectors.
big time.
Got a collector here.
Yeah. I collect all kinds of other things. I only own 2 decks. I have a Rider-Waite Smith, and I have this Cthulhu deck. Because I guess my question in general there would be, are there different effects with the decks?
Yes.
Because there are different stories on the different cards.
Yes.
When I go into the local bookstore and see the shelf, some of these are just bizarre. Like you said, the cats and dogs. And I'm like, why would I want that one? What's going on with the different decks? Well, maybe, yeah, but what?
That's
as a layperson.
That's a whole big thing. I'm gonna detour off of that just for a second while we were.
You can go wherever you like.
Good, before we get past the popular culture, because I want to mention there is something called, it's a board game. It's called the Tarot Game, and it's a great way to learn the tarot.
That's what I thought he was mentioning. That's excellent.
Yeah, so there's a board game out there. It's a fun way to learn if you want to, and you can do it alone or with other people. But this idea of different decks, it's actually very cool because every energy, I'm going to go with that 5 of Wands that you mentioned, the 5 guys and the Rider-Waite Smith who are, playing with these basically clubs they're growing, they're alive, they've got green leaves on them. And this idea of a mock battle, there will be a deck where that's much more serious. There'll be a deck where there's less interaction. There'll be a deck where it's indoors and the lighting is dark. There'll be a deck where it's outdoors and it looks like people are having fun at the beach, So that kind of a spin on the basic energy of a lot of different voices.
Question I have is, if I change, is it advisable? Is it the art of making a deck such that if I change like light to dark, they're fighting in the evening, do I have to balance it somewhere else in the deck? Do you understand what I'm saying? In other words, does the deck come, does it add up to 100? You know what I mean? Like
That's
light and dark, light equals 0, dark equals 10. And if I change something here, I just change its polarity, which is from the Kabbalion, by the way. Right? If I change its polarity, have I changed the balance of the deck? You see what I mean? Because
I do.
Theoretically, the serial killer one could be all negative.
Yeah.
You're going to have a bloody nose. And then tomorrow an earache. And then, you're going to meet the most dangerous person you've ever met.
And we do have that going on. My answer is I don't know, but I am going to expand on that a bit.
Okay.
But I also want to mention that there are decks that do skew. I don't work with dark arts. There are people who are able to do that. That is not I'm not able. I have to stay functional. There are also decks that they sweeten everything. There
Okay.
are no bad,
Yeah. Bad
challenging
readings. Yeah.
energies. It's all good. It really is life either. I mean, yay, if you're that privileged,
Right.
and I'm horrified for you if it's that dark.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I really think of the deck, I think you pose a really interesting question, Mike. I don't know, but the
Okay.
way I look, each energy has a spectrum. So there's that center balance place, and then there's the off balance one way that's going to be incredibly negative, and the other way, which is also be negative. So
Here's how I'm kind of listening to you, and I'm envisioning somebody like yourself who has an array of decks. And you maybe, as an intuitive, read somebody as they walk in the door, and you go, I cannot use the dark decks because they cannot stand this in their lives.
I do.
The universe does not give you that which you cannot overcome, is basically one way I've heard it put. And so I might stray to the sweetened deck, but I'm going to give them a challenge from that. Like, your challenge then is the way I'm reading the cards that you put out there, right? That you should really strive to not be angry with your mother. Something very
I understand where you're going.
doable, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
or
understand
that's
where
what
you're
the
going.
card is saying. Like, you just really should just not be as angry. And so the not as angry, as opposed to you need to overcome your crack cocaine addiction, right? I mean, which is a
No,
little
it's
more
true.
involved.
Do
more
I?
involved. Yeah,
Right?
well, you should, John. I mean, it's really
I'll
showing.
get on that.
It's showing.
I'll get on that.
You see what he
It's
does?
funny.
He gets all intellectual.
He gets
You
mad
guys
at
are
me.
funny.
Yeah. Looks aren't everything.
That, and I do. A lot of my decks were acquired because clients wanted to use a particular deck. And I'm like, you buy me the deck, I will always use this deck with you. That's fine. And yeah, some of them I picked up because it was like, this is not going to suit these kind of people.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
used to. At Ren fairs, really, I just bring a couple of decks with me now. I used to bring an assortment so that if I ran up against somebody, but I'm sorry, I just travel lighter now. And,
Would you mind digging in there? When you said the assort, you used to bring an assortment. What do you mean by that? Like,
I would bring about five or
just,
six. Yeah, I bring about 5 or 6 decks with me so that I could go for something that was more light and otherworldly,
Okay.
or more very grounded, reality based. Something more historical, something that
Interesting.
could deal with folks who were clearly really tender in their
Yeah.
lives and needed something gentle.
Okay, so
because
you're already kind of doing what I was thinking.
It exists.
You are reading the people that come to you, and you're choosing even before you've gotten much to know about what they draw and what they're. You're making a judgment as they come in the door.
I will.
And I don't mean judgment in a bad
No,
way.
it's-
I
I
mean like
understand.
you're making an assessment, like
yeah.
we all do, right?
We really, almost all of us read people much better
Yeah,
than we
yeah, you're-
than we think, but we just don't take the time to process it.
That's
That's
right.
all.
Yeah, if you're on a city street at midnight in the dark, you're assessing. Sorry, you are, right? And
Right.
some assessments will make you turn around or cross the street or keep going. Like, I
Right.
think I'm okay.
And it doesn't have to be the city, and it doesn't have to be midnight.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
right. Well,
It's
that's
true.
usually the
we're
example
doing it
they
all the
get.
time, right?
That's
Because
right.
it's dramatic enough to understand.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And those sort of dramatic examples can really help people to understand concepts too,
Yeah.
which is part of being able to work with a tarot deck and explain whatever's going on
Yeah.
with these particular images. So yes, I also used to let people choose what deck they wanted, and that took my judgment out. I would just put 5 decks on the
That's
table.
very smart.
I don't do that
Exactly.
now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have a setup here, and for the listeners, Melanie, you're going to do a reading with John. So I'm going to set the stage here. You have your setup in front of you, and John is sitting directly across from you at the table here.
That is true.
In our Ataraxian home here in Sykesville. Can you give us just a walkthrough of what we're looking at?
Yes. So every tarot reader has a different process. And some of us use support tools, and some of us are like really good at being feral and on the fly. And I like to have 3 layers of cloth that are here. The top, the middle layer actually, is a cloth that I don't remember how long I've had it, but I know I've been reading on it since at least the late 90s.
Oh, wow.
It used to be black. it's kind of reddish.
Mm.
I know, right? So probably about
awesome.
5 or 10 years ago, I picked up an actual piece of black fabric, and that goes underneath it. There are ideas about protection and being able to not pick up excess energies, and black is one of those colors. And then the top is a velvet cloth, which is purple on one side and black on the other. And black is a good background. Purple is one of the protective colors.
Okay.
Now, I don't have to, but I often use something like a smoky quartz or one of the darker stones, tourmaline, obsidian. There's a spessartine garnet that I really love to use. And it's kind of a filter because I'm opening myself up to a certain extent, and I don't need your ish on top of my own. I have plenty. Thank you very much. So
You need
those-
to remain functional, like you said, right?
Right.
Yeah, you don't need your house alive with a bunch of things
Oh
that you
my
don't
God,
want
no.
running around.
Right? And I can talk a little bit more about that too.
I would love to know.
And then I also keep 2 quartz points, which are just helpful for keeping the focus. And then, of course, there's a tarot deck. So in terms of that whole idea of not taking on other people's energy, that was one of the first things that both my mentors trained me in, was how to not do this. So, people say, oh, my God, you must get so tired. And it's like, I'm tired because it's been 8 hours and I forgot to eat. It's not, I don't take on your stuff. I may be very empathetic and very sympathetic, but I'm keeping my job is not to get in there with you. It's to be able to see what's going on and give you some coping skills or whatever we're doing here. So it's important that I stay detached. And they just gave me, there's an intention I set. There's a company called Aura Soma that might be interesting. Let me just do it for a moment here. I'm using something called Serapis Bay, and they use color and it's fragrance. You'll notice this is floral, but they're tuned to various aspects of what in the Theosophical Society and old traditions is called the White Brotherhood. And please do not mistake that for some of the other stuff that goes on. This was the idea of elevated masters who are still wandering around to help us. So what I do is put this on my wrists, and then I do a quick pass through so that if you do auras or whatever, it's a protection thing for me. One of my teachers used to say, if you use the tools, it's just a portion of your mind that doesn't have to be focused on that. It's doing it for you. Really, I've set the intention. And then I spend a moment doing some version of, let me not F this person's life up, let me stay awake and aware, and then, just kind of release whatever I don't need.
Interesting.
So that's one of the things that I do. In terms of my deck, there's a tradition of keeping a deck protected. So this top cloth with the black on one side, purple on the other is a way so that when we're not actually using the cards, I can just fold it over and there it is. It also, these lower cloths are usually spread out on a bigger table, and this can help define the reading surface a little bit more. So one of the things that I do with my decks is I keep them in purple velvet, because purple, blah, blah, protection. The sun on one end and the world on the other, those are the two
so that's not random.
No.
Okay.
They're considered protective energies.
Interesting.
So when I'm working with a deck of tarot cards, they'll be, I will separate those out at the end of the reading. And then my way of clearing the deck, and everybody has a different way of doing this. I'm doing it with visualization and shuffling. And there's sparkling white light, because that's my cleansing thing. So we all have our different ways of doing it. And some people don't even do this much. And then when I'm going to put it back away again, these will go on top.
The part of your process.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And again,
it's a pattern.
Yes, you can find it's a way for me to easily get into the place that I need to get into and make sure that I'm not, particularly at something like a Ren Fair where it's next.
Right.
I don't need to be, still with whoever was there before me.
Right.
Because people have amazing stories.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I want to say again, anybody who sits across the table from me, there's maybe not everybody at this point, but everyone is dealing with potential magnificence and actual magnificence on some level of their life.
Well, thank you.
She was like,
I don't think I need to be read now.
but today might be the
I feel
exception.
validated. Today might be the exception.
Right?
Wait.
And then,
I take that back.
realizing some of the things that people are dealing with that are like, how are you still standing?
Right.
You know,
Yeah, right.
We really,
Yeah.
we're an amazing bunch. And if we could cut each other more slack on the regular,
Yeah.
you know, I see a lot from my side of the table. It really is quite amazing to be able to do that. I'm very grateful for that.
What we can habituate to and still stand is amazing.
Ugh, and
We're
people
resilient.
shouldn't, and I don't like for people to suffer. There's going to be some conversations on the other side of the divide about, we couldn't have done this a better way, dude. You know, whatever it is.
Right.
Because I really feel for people. But again, I don't take it on. And the places where people have gotten through whatever protection I've set up, and those of you who are very sensitive, you will not like this any more than I do, but it's really useful. A quick cold shower will shock your nervous system to let go of all sorts of stuff. So that was literally the first thing that both of my mentors did
That's
when they
interesting.
started talking with
It's
me.
very
It was
practical.
like, what do you, exactly,
Yeah.
you know, very grounded, very earthed.
That's
That's fantastic.
feel like I want to poke at that. There are people
Sure.
that get by your protective measures.
Well,
what does that feel like?
It's not so much that it's foreign, John.
Yeah.
The times that it's happened, it triggers something that I have had to deal with or in the process of dealing with.
It's a lock point on you
Yes.
that you've left. I wouldn't say you've left it open, but it's still sensitive for you.
Right.
Understood. Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
So that's been the thing that's
Interesting.
gotten to me.
That's your
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah, imagine that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Oh.
that's really, really, I cannot say this often enough, or with enough emphasis. It is really important to, whether somebody's reading tarot or runes or being a psychic, we are still human. We are still on this plane. We do not know it all. Okay? So,
I'm going to pin something here as a question, and because so many things you're saying, it makes me want to ask you, like, the other foundations that you stand on spiritually, what's underpinning all of these things that you're saying, because there's the warren of holes that you talk about, right? I'm like, oh boy, what a great question. That would be that question. I'm like, my mind is exploding. But, for you to say, like, we're still here, we arrived here asleep potentially. We don't know it all. But I would love to, maybe at some point or even in a second interview, bring you back and talk about some of these other topics. But I don't want to steer us away. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, fascinating.
Okay. So, again, tarot readers have a different way of doing things. I don't think of myself as predicting anything.
Okay.
Partly because I'm not a fan of yes, there are things that are out of our control. We're just going to have to figure out how to deal with it. But I am not a fan of, here's what's going to happen to you, go be a victim. I want something where you can interact with the information I'm giving you. So I think in terms of, here's the potential, here are the energies that are around you. And again, I can go back to that idea of Jung where, talking about things that I really don't have a language for. The idea of frequency and resonance, and we attract what we need. We also, there's opposites attract. It's a whole thing.
Law of attraction. That's actually out of New Thought too. Yeah,
and there's that sort of thing where you're attracting the energies that you need to go forward from this deck. Basically,
Okay.
that's the intention that I have when I set out the cards.
So if we're not predicting something, is there a way you would guide me, as I'm about to be read, I assume, into formulating a question? What kind of question should I be
That's
asking,
really
rather than
good.
what's going to happen tomorrow, or will I get the new job?
Right, and I do get those kind of questions.
Sure.
And especially at a Ren Fair, I'm going to answer that kind of question. With a private client where we're spending more time, I might dig deeper into what's really below this question.
Yeah.
No question is fine. People can come up. I have a lot of people who are new to tarot and they're just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool, we'll just put some cards out and see what comes up. Some people are in the middle of life challenges and it's like, my mother is passing, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
My job is a mess, I don't know whether to stay or go. Getting a lot of those right now.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I believe
bet.
that.
Yeah,
It's
I
fun
believe
times. So you can be as specific as you want to be, and I understand, there's a whole lot of people listening in. So, that's another thing that happens with tarot. I am fine with other people sitting with what's often referred to as a querent, the person across the table asking to be read for. Some readers are extremely sensitive and cannot take another energy in the room. And there is nothing wrong with them. They are not broken. They do not need to be fixed.
Right, right.
That is part of their process.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, I often caution people that, tarot will expose stuff that you didn't necessarily want to know about, and definitely didn't want your best bud to know about.
Oh, well.
However,
that should guide your question.
right? And that's part of why I say this, but also I set an intention when I'm reading, and part of the intention. So, for example, people say, well, how often does death come up? Because that's one of the scary things. And it's like, part of my intention is, if there is nothing you can do about it, and it is actually going to hinder you to know about something coming up like that, why do you need to know this? Yes, if you need to do something like it's time, you need to be preparing, get your bucket list, yay, fine. If it's just going to scare you and keep you from being functional, why? So part of the intention for this is, there's a whole bunch of other people who are not in the room with us. We're not bringing up anything that John is going to go, Okay. So if you do have a question, we can absolutely do the question.
Yeah,
there's nothing.
You said we can make it a quiet question or an open question, right? I mean, it could be something he holds to himself, right? Isn't that correct?
Yes, and some people are amazing at getting very specific, and sometimes I'm extremely amazing at getting very specific when someone has given me no question. But in the interest of time, I usually tell people, if there's a question, tell me the question, and then we can go, from there.
Okay.
So you decide, whatever you want to do, and I'll just keep tuning into your. And I'm also going to mention, I record. This is part of my training. I record every one of my sessions. I think I mentioned this, so that I can go back, and I also write that, and I'm going to do that while we're doing this. So John's name goes, and the date, which 14th
It's
July.
the 14th.
And then I note the deck that.
Yes,
that we use.
which deck are we looking at here? This is not a Rider-Waite-Smith.
No, but it's similar in the main. This is called The Longest Dream. Okay. It's a Scarabeo deck, which is one of the Italian companies that makes tarot decks. I actually looked it up this morning because I couldn't remember how recent it was. It's 2023 is the edition that I have, which doesn't mean it wasn't done earlier, but it is a new deck. Okay. And I think Roberto Innocenti was the Italian artist. It's overseen by an Italian artist, Pietro Allegro, who's done a lot of decks. He's overseen the art on a lot of tarot decks. It's a nice, gentle, colorful, none of the images are too scary sort of thing. It also happens to be...
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. It's a deck that a client requested a reading with last week, and anybody that I had after that, I didn't feel like I needed to deviate from this, so I just kind of left it out and was like, I'll bring this one then.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was just that kind of thing. So
all right.
So when I tune in, I'm shuffling and I'm just focusing on your energy, meaning I'm like literally thinking of you as a physical entity and whatever else I might be aware of over there across the table. Okay.
All right. What can I do to help?
So, keep breathing.
Be John.
Don't die.
Put on your John face.
Yeah. I happen to, again, everybody has a different process. I happen to shuffle 3 times while I'm doing this, and then mix shuffle 3 times. But you just, you can talk to me. And
okay. I'm having a hard time coming up with a specific question, but I will say that as a middle-aged white guy, there are some life changes and challenges going on in my family. I've got a daughter who is just graduated from college.
Congratulations.
And, that brings changes to the family, and my wife and I are looking forward to retirement, and I guess I'm just kind of curious about choices and where life's taking us, and it's not a selfish question. I guess it's about where are we going as a family? How does that change?
Maybe what do I need to know about the next stage in my life?
Yeah.
Not to
feel like
put
I'm
energy out there. 'Cause
No, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's a cusp thing. I don't know. I see change coming. I don't know what it is. I'm sure there are other things in my life that are changing as well. But yeah, it's not.
The only thing that doesn't change is change itself, isn't that?
That's right.
Something?
What remains the same is change.
Yeah.
So
What is that? Plus le même change? Something I don't remember. So there are a ton of layouts that you can do, and I design my own layouts when I feel like I need to. And this just happens to be one of two that I use really quick. And yes, 5 of Wands is on the table.
Okay.
Which is really fun.
Yeah, so what we have, we've got 5 cards that Melanie has put before John. There's 2 on his left and 2 on his right and 1 in the very center. Now, I'm not going to spend the time to do all the descriptions. I think, Melanie, that's...
Yes, and that's
on you.
this card counts too, the bottom of the deck.
Gotcha.
Not everyone uses this as just as something that I use. It was something that I was prompted to by someone else who reads tarot, and I'm sorry I can't credit them because I don't remember who it was. So sorry, but I appreciate it.
But in spirit, they know. They're feeling the appreciation right now.
I hope so, because it's been a wonderful addition to my toolkit. And I learn from other readers. I learn from everybody. I have never gotten to a point where I thought I knew it all. Thank goodness. When I do, I hope somebody shoots me or takes away all my tarot decks, because I think that's horribly dangerous. This bottom card winds up being a good indicator of background energy that's going on, which is really wonderful. I'm gonna stay with this reading. I'm not leaving, but I do want to mention this idea of intuitive. Our intuition, our instinct, and our emotions are very, very deeply intertwined. And part of the process of learning to be an intuitive reader, if we're going to go with that term, is to be able to clear my emotional stuff and instinctual stuff out of the way, so that it's as much as possible clear intuition. Do I ever get to 100% clear? Probably not.
Let me ask you, while John is marinating,
while the tension builds.
They keep John in suspense, so he starts to vibrate with the energy of his question there, to build up that tension. You're right. Are you familiar with brain and heart coherence, which is sort of there
Heart
is some
math people?
there is it's some of the theory and thought and research going on. Heart Math is an organization that it examines sort of everything from the electromechanical toroidal shape of our chakra system, where that emanates from the heart, but that and how the brain plays into that coherence, right? So it's the thought that clears, that puts the intention out there, and it's the emotion from the heart that actually puts the energy into the field. Are you familiar with that? I'm curious, because it's something that I've read about and I find fascinating, and it bleeds into that scientific edge, and I'm just curious of what your thoughts are there.
I do think it's really powerful, and
Okay.
I think that's the point of our emotions, to give us. I mean, there's a reason emotion, motivate. All those words are they come from that same root. They're not just that. Don't make a scene uncomfortable for everybody else,
Yeah, and we talk about archetype,
Inconvenient.
Emotions are very archetypical as well, right?
Right. I don't really think this way divided, but the idea of body, mind, spirit, and mind for me is intellect plus emotions. So it is very much, I do like that heart math.
Interesting.
Thing, very
Okay.
much so.
Yeah. I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay,
Guide us
because
away.
it plays into some of. So I'm going to come back to the structure of the tarot deck, and then we'll start really reading,
Okay.
John.
By the way, the beautiful deck.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And I've turned the cards so that John can see them, because when I read with people, usually I put us on adjacent sides of the table.
Oh.
And that way I'm looking sideways, they're looking direct on. And I will pick up and turn and go, wait a minute, what is that in the way background? Because different aspects of the images will catch me.
Is there any sense of inverted?
I use inversions when they show up.
Okay.
Some readers will intentionally turn some of the deck upside down. I don't tend to.
Okay.
If they show up, yay. Because again, I read the whole spectrum of the energy, and I'm reading cards as they relate to each other. So if we were doing a one card thing, we would talk about the whole possibility, because you'll probably use the most of the spectrum. here it's like having different people in a room. You know, they bring out various aspects of each other. You know, so there's very much that part of it. So
you know what? I'm going to take a picture of the layout so we can
Great.
put it in the show notes.
Great.
If we can.
Yes,
if
please.
you're okay with it.
Yes, please.
All right, that's a great idea.
Because people are going to hear this and they're going to be walked through it
Like,
and they're going to
what?
say, I really wish
Yeah.
I
well,
could
this is
see
where
the
it's like,
layout.
Mike, get to video.
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
And again, it's all 6 of those cards.
It's all sex.
I love it when
this
people
one.
ask me if they can take a picture, because yes, absolutely. And
Okay.
another wonderful way to start with tarot is just to find a card that you like looking at and let it inspire you. Often, if there's a card in a reading that's really central or that the querent relates to, I will suggest either taking a picture and making it the wallpaper on your phone, or print it out and put it up
Interesting.
on the bathroom mirror or somewhere where you
I
see
will
it.
do
'cause-
that with my Cthulhu deck.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I know, right? That whole idea of the subconscious, the unconscious being impacted by what's around us. It's a wonderful way to use a tarot deck, and what are potentially well thought out, very strong archetypes.
Interesting.
There are people. There's a couple of guys who work Jungian, and I think Robert Ploss is one of them. I wish I could remember the name of the other. But they have intentionally gone into deep psychology to find imagery for their decks that will,
Interesting.
it is. This is what I say, it's a rabbit warren down there.
Yeah.
It is such a rich art form.
I guess that was sort of the source of my question about all these novelty, quote unquote, novelty decks I see on the shelf. Is like, how much trust should I place in?
If you relate to it, right?
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
relate to it, why not?
Yeah,
Because
I could see that.
especially if you have a general understanding of what each card means, and I know that can mean a lot of study. As long as the image is not in direct contrast.
Yeah,
in
and that was
contradiction,
sort of
you can kind
the
of go
source
there.
of my question about the weight of a deck, right? I mean, like if it's all happening at nighttime, right? Is it inspiring something, indirectly? And I don't want to get us too far off, but there's also, John and I have not discussed deeply, but John has mentioned the idea of grimoires that are actually out there with intention to be traps. Like,
Right.
hey, here's a book. It's all about protection, and you should learn it. And actually, inadvertently, what you're spelling is something that's actually negative, and it's intended to get you, right? It's intended to be
Right.
a trap,
And I tend to believe in the karmic direction and that homeostasis of of time and universe. I don't want to be
shame
messing
on the
there.
person that did it.
Right,
but on
and
the other
there
hand-
may have been a very good reason for a particularly limited situation where that was the only way to save thousands of people and somebody from building up even more horrible karma. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
as a general member of the populace, I would not be going there. I just, as my individual choice, I'm not.
Yeah.
I can't. I would rather just live a life. I don't need the extra stuff,
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So within the structure of this tarot deck, we don't have any majors on the table in this spread, but that's the spiritual evolution. Those are those kind of landmark energies where something big is. It often can be something small, but it's something inside you is changing. I don't worry when they're not on the table. It doesn't mean you're not changing and growing. The other 4 suits, pentacles, which are often discs or coins, that's the material part of life. Our body, our material possessions, our financial resources like time and energy can play into pentacles as well. They also can fit into other categories. Cups is our emotional life, part of our creativity, often, not always with all cups, but often connected with intuition on various levels. A lot about how we connect with other people too. There's a lot there. Wands, and we've got, I'll list off the cards before we actually start reading, but it's a very heavy Wands and Cups energy. Wands is not necessarily spirituality, but it's kind of connected to spirituality. It has that sense of vitality. What do we believe in? What are our priorities? What's important to us? What motivates us? What are we enthusiastic about? That's very much Wands. It gets us going. So, you can see how it can be spiritual, because we're kind of spiritually motivated, but really the majors are seen as that the heavy duty spiritual. And what's not on the table at all is swords, which are often seen as problems. And here's where I think that came from, because it's really the mental energy, the intellectual energy. But you know how we can talk ourselves into a view of something where we've got a hamster wheel going on there, or we create the worst possible version. We can think ourselves into problems really quickly, which is, I think, why swords have gotten kind of a bad reputation. And they can be challenging, but really so can a lot of the other energies in the deck.
Don't go away. We'll be right back.
So if we work from the center out, John has 10 of Wands in the center, and then we go, I'm really bad at right and left. Is this your left or is this your right?
My left.
Thank you.
I had to check too.
Right?
I am now raising my arm.
Yeah, John is waving his left hand.
This is good. So the bottom card of a stack of 2 is the 5 of Wands, which we mentioned before, and it's fun that it comes up.
Yep.
And it's on top of it is 10 of Cups. Which is a lovely family with a rainbow of cups up. So these are very Rider-Waite images. This 10 of Wands is a little bit different. There's more background to it, to the Rider-Waite Smith, but it's very similar. And then over on the right side is King of Pentacles underneath, and the 9 of Cups above. So we've got both the 9 and 10 on the table, which counts when we've got these kind of sequential energies. That's noticeable. We have it with the Wands as well, because this base of the deck card is the 6 of Wands, and we've got the 5 of Wands down there too, right? So I'm going to start the recorder. I need Jeopardy music. There we go.
I can add that in.
John and I are together on the 14th of July in 2026. So looking at this period of family going through change, because we're getting older. Mike framed it as what's the next step in life, and that word cusp came up. So wands have a lot to do with internal motivation. So do cups. Sometimes we have to make changes in our life or decisions in our life based on hello, roof and food is good. These are when wands show up, and especially in this sort of predominance. This is what would get you enthusiastically engaged in your life. What would either get you up in the morning feeling like, yeah, I can't wait to get to this, which can look like adventure. It can also look like you're doing something you really believe in. Sometimes it's a mission or a purpose. And boy, are you not enthusiastic about whatever it is you're going to have to do on mission and purpose that day, but the strong belief in what you're doing really counts. Now, 10 of Wands in the middle is probably the most challenging energy on the table, John, because 10 of Wands is that place where we have taken on so much that's important to us that we're starting to be burdened by it. Too much responsibility, You can lose track of, why am I even doing this? And it's crucial with Wands. You want to know, why am I here? What's the purpose? And if it's just fun, yay, go have big fun. But usually this looks like you're wearing yourself out. There's nothing on the table that talks about health challenges. And I want to say, I always give a disclaimer. I will talk about people's health, but I am not a healthcare practitioner. I am a tarot reader. King of Pentacles tends to be very strong in terms of its energy. So it's a good solid one for health. But this can lead to health strain just by virtue of how much you're taking on. So, strategies to manage that is like, is there anything you can delegate? I often think of it, so in this image, these 10 wands there's still a cumbersome burden, but they're all bound together.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if it was loose, like when you pick up groceries at the grocery store and you didn't have a bag to put them in? Who does that, Are there ways to organize some of the things that need to be done or put them on autopilot or whatever? So delegation, organization, questioning is, this was important, I had to do it. I'm on autopilot, I don't need to keep doing this. So it's an indication, yes, there's a lot of work to be done now, but eventually you're going to have to lighten the load. Tens get us to a place where you can't continue this way. And that's both for good or ill. I mean, it very much allows you to pass on whatever's been important to you, so that can be part of what you're focusing on. What do you want to pass on to your kids? To the next generation or to anybody else that you're sharing with. What's your value system? This does not say you get to impose it on other people, right? We all get to develop our own. So what are you passing on? But also, how much of your life is taken up by things that may be important to you, but it's not so much fun? When we get to 10 of Wands, it's not so much fun. Okay?
Okay.
However, so that's kind of the challenge to be looked at right now, which is a cool place to be coming from, John. I mean, really, to be able to say, okay, so what do I need to change about myself is kind of the implication here, while you're surrounded by a lot of, this is cool stuff. This is actually very cool, too, because it says that you've already lived a life with a sense of meaning and purpose, and yay, you. Six of Wands is that card of recognition and accomplishment, and victory is often the key word that's used. This is someone mounted on a horse with other folks around. It's kind of that time of celebration. Yay. 6 is also a very social number. 3, 6, 9 are the social numbers. 3 is that smaller group. 6 is kind of small community, often family. 10 of Cups is very family. I'll talk more about that.
Okay.
But this sense of you within community, but also within family, where have you been recognized for what you've already accomplished? It promises accomplishment and success when when you're at the other end of that journey, like, should I take on this mission? If I see 6 of Wands, it's like, yeah, good call. And again, this is not, even though you may be as a solo individual being celebrated, this is never, the 6s are never a solo act, right?
Okay.
There's always some sort of community involvement. When there's Wands, I tend to think of tribe. It's either the people where we just get each other, or people where there's an interest that's shared, so we're getting together and yay, we love this. An adventure group, folks that we go out, something where we're all internally motivated to be in the same sort of place, or we share a worldview.
I'll just say this is all resonating.
Cool. This is great.
Yep.
So this 6 of Wands can very much be like that family worldview, that sense of the values that you share. But 5 of Wands comes in, and 5s are transitory energies, but I happen to have a real fondness for 5 of Wands. 5 of Wands, that idea of mock battle, is many voices, and we don't want to amputate parts of you. So there's the many voices from the outside, many demands, which leads to this, oh my God, there's a lot of work. If you can hand off some of that, yay. If not, best just to learn to live in the chaos. It's a very chaotic energy. It doesn't often lend itself well to organization. Sorry.
Does it? Okay.
Doesn't mean it can't be done.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So living with a certain amount of chaos, but the really important place to look is the internal voices. And this is where 5 of Wands, it can be a real challenge, but it can be a really joyful, exciting way to live life when you just come to terms with, this is who I am. Sometimes what we're looking for is, this is in the ideal universe that we don't live in, sorry.
Right.
Is something or a combination of things that will satisfy all the internal voices. Sometimes you have to make a decision, and you can't satisfy all the voices. So what you are making is a compromise that is going to have to be revisited, because those internal voices are speaking to needs and strong desires, and those parts of you are not going away. So you may be able to temporarily put parts of yourself on the back burner in order to accomplish something that you've made this compromise in, but you're then going to have to revisit, okay, how is this part of me also going to get needs met? So this is in a way an expansive sort of time, John, because it's not saying, okay, well, cut this part of yourself off because that part of your life is done. It's more like, how do you bring all of these swirling parts of you forward without having to, sorry math people, without being linear about it. This is very much a little bit here, a little bit there, grab where you can, jump up, turn upside down. It's really, yeah. This is a cat with the zoomies energy. This is,
that's also appropriate.
That is very
I have
appropriate, yeah.
4 at home. He's
Oh, my
only
goodness.
got the 2. Okay.
Brilliant. That's wonderful. Yay.
Okay.
Yeah, Max likes that. He's flicking his tail over there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yay, beautiful Max the black cat. And is it Gizzy who's over on the other
Yeah,
end?
yeah. Is
They're
Gizzy over there?
bookending
Yep.
the sofa.
Hey,
Cool. Yay, the
my
kitties.
reading.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
That's okay, John. So this is very fundamental. All right, this is central to what you're doing now, but this position is fundamental. Roughly, the energy in the spread moves this left to right.
Okay.
But you are not leaving this behind. This is traits that are already well developed,
Okay.
or being well developed within you, or circumstances that you're already taking part of that will be coming forward to meet this energy. So it really all just kind of blends.
Okay.
But, when we've got 10 of Wands central with a lot of, scattered stuff, making sure that you have the support system that you need to be able to go in as many directions is really helpful, That can look like the stupid stuff like, is the grocery list on the refrigerator, or am I having to go into the grocery store and waste a lot of time? Any of that stuff. Do you have a pantry? Anything where you can set up so your life is easier. Is your bed comfortable? That's a big one. 10 of Cups is a happy family.
Oh,
I
good.
love
Thank
this
goodness.
energy, right? I love this.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of the most fun and wonderful, and it's all generations. It's very expansive. Because of that rainbow of cups in the sky, it is very much that promise, that biblical promise of, yes, you've learned what you need to learn. We're not doing this again. So it's being able to celebrate, and I want to celebrate with family, but I also want to define family here. Yes, family at birth can be, if it's a happy family, we're talking about happy, joyful, I want to connect with these people, family. If that is not your family at birth, that's not who we're talking about. Family that you've created, happy, joyful, yay. It can also be family of choice, friends who... and the 10 is very expansive. So this can be expanded family, extended family, all of that stuff, all the generations.
All of that resonates too.
So this is gorgeous. And it's moving forward on that level of 9 of Cups, which is simply the energy of happiness. But again, since 9 is a social number, we're sharing the happiness.
Okay.
And this is a wonderful invitation for someone who is working as hard as they are with this 10 of Wands to find what makes you happy. So even when you're in the midst of that meeting where you're going, oh my God, still? Are you ever going to shut up? So what's the thing that makes you happy? Maybe it's a view out the window. Maybe there's a pretty picture. Maybe there's actually, a critter wandering around on the floor. And I'm not saying that this is not Pollyanna your life away. It is being able to train as a species who are developed to not get eaten by the saber-toothed tiger, to identify the negatives, to be able to look for what feeds my heart, what feeds my soul in any situation. And then, say you're in that meeting with somebody who is also looking as dead in the soul as you are, like elbow them and point out the window so that you share that moment of happiness however you can. It's a great energy, by the way, for family get-togethers when we've got 10 of Cups here. Anything where y'all are sharing. I loved, and this is another thing that I draw from in readings, because I meet so many people with so many wonderful experiences. They are incredible examples of some of these energies. And one family that I encountered, I loved their way of bringing 9 of Cups. every day at the end of the day when they got together for dinner, they shared something that they loved about their life that day, a thing that happened. I was like, what a great way to find this Nine of Cups energy. It also just reminds you that because it makes me happy is a good enough reason to meet one of these needs of one of these voices, you know. This whole, especially, you know, different societies have different values, and I know ours is very much about, well, what are you doing as a productive human being? You don't have to earn your place on this planet in tarot, right? It's enough to go forward to what makes all y'all happy. And especially since you asked about family, you know, it wasn't just about John, you know, what makes you happy, but also with an eye to, and that's that can be part of the burden. So for everyone else to train, you know, give somebody a fish, train them to fish, you know, training people to look. So what does make you happy? What lights you up? What makes you enthusiastic? What's your value system? Especially where it comes to, I mean, yay, I love that. Was it your daughter who graduated?
Yes.
Yeah. Great job. Great job, John's daughter. Yay. So, you know, as she goes forward in life, what do you believe in? You know, what do you want to put your energy into? What makes you happy? How do you have a life where you're really inhabiting it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. She was an art history major.
Oh my God, bless her. Oh, cool.
Because and it's but that what you just said resonates so much with that, because often it's like, well, what is she going to do with that? And but what we've discovered is that, you know, for so long the STEM was being pushed, that the jobs in art history, you know, museums and whatnot, are actually opening up because there aren't as many people to fill them. And because she pursued what she loved, she's looking at a future that's actually has far more options than most people would have given credit to.
I am so excited for her.
Isn't that interesting?
I love, yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of her piece of this, I can absolutely see
that is brilliant.
I
love that for her, and I love that for all y'all too, because that's, and really as a society, you know, without the anthropologists and the sociologists and all the rest of that, how do you think we maintain civilization?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And art history, right? Art history gives context to so much, you know? So as an art historian, she hasn't just been looking at, you know, the effect of different media and memorizing dates.
Yeah, I have other observations, but that one came out. Yeah.
Cool.
But I want to hear the rest of this, and then I'll tell you about some other observations
Absolutely.
I'm seeing or hearing at the same time.
So, both of these, 10 of Cups and 9 of Cups, need emotional stimulation. Not as much as some of the other energies in the deck, but either engagement through your own emotional awareness, especially on that, you know, favoring the happiness side, you know. So this is one of these two energies favor their balance sits in contentment, in bliss, in this, man, my heart feels full, you know. But again, this is a pass it on energy because it's got the 10, right? And this is a sharing energy, so this is not just John sitting in a room with whatever makes him happy, you know.
Okay.
It's bigger than...
I have a room with a bunch of things that make me happy.
Yay! Cool. Which would bring in that idea of possessions and that idea of happiness, you know. And it doesn't have to be organized in there either, because 5 of Wands, Cups and Wands together are a really wonderful combination for creativity. The different suits have different ways of dealing with the world, and the cups tend to be more of a go with the flow. Think of how a river moves. You know, sometimes it's really fast, and sometimes the amazing thing is that water is that determined that it doesn't matter if you're flowing around. It wears away obstacles and rocks, and it gets to where it needs to go, right? Pentacles tend to be slower moving because they're dealing very real world, which does not move quickly. Wands, however, are like, let's get it done now, because it comes from different place to the mental mind, but from that, you know, immediate. You know, if we get to that point where everything is happening all at once, Wands will go, yeah, I'm real comfortable here. This is where I want to be. Cups, in terms of creativity, don't always have the drive. They may get it done. You know, a lot of projects may not get finished, but Wands give drive. Now here, with this many Wands, finding that pursuit of happiness can be something that burns you out, and you just want to be careful of that, because burnout can be pretty intense with 5 of Wands and 10 of Wands. And burnouts is not really going to be stable happiness. I mean, happiness doesn't have to be stable, but, So King of Pentacles, this is a really wonderful energy, because King is, there are 4 court members in each suit, rather than Jack, Queen, and King. There is something like page or prince, depending upon what tradition we're coming from. And then there'll be knight, it's princess or page. And then there's knight or prince. And then Crowley completely turned everything upside down with where his prince and
It's got to be different.
But it is generally, it's a hierarchical setup. And then queen and then king is at the top of the stack here. So this is that sense of being really comfortable with your own slice of nature, your body, with how the material world works. And there's 2 aspects of the material world. There's the natural world, nature and our body within it, and those processes. And then there's whatever this is that we've set up, and yes, it will vary from country to country in terms of how we operate with exchange of resources and possessions and things like that. So being able to be comfortable in that system. This Pentacles tend to operate well with animals. So yay, your cats have found a happy home, particularly with 5 of Wands, because cats.
There's a lot of chaos.
Right? Yeah. But this is someone who, and remember, you're moving more and more in this direction. This is we're still speaking potential, but this is almost pure potential. Even though you already carry at least the seed of it, there's still further that you can go here in terms of becoming happy, but also being able to master where are your investments. Here's where we can get really practical. How are they doing? Who do you have managing your investments? Should we be partly slow growth? Are you getting closer to the end of earning power, so that you need to be, doing whatever? I'm, again, not a financial advisor, so, it indicates that you become more and more knowledgeable about how to manage things. And I want to remind you that your own body and its cues about what are your energy levels and what are your emotional states in response to things, and what's your sense of, am I burnt out, or am I, really geared up and still ready to participate, are big signals about resources that you have. It's a good time to be looking at, what is the roof like? How long has HVAC been in? It's very practical. It is, when well aspected, and this is somewhat, it does well at running the show. So it can be a start your own business thing. It can be a do more, be promotable in somebody else's business. I would again caution you, since you're coming from a place already of perilously close to overworked, and because you need to have the freedom to go in a lot of different directions, it may not necessarily indicate the running your own show in the way that we tend to think of, here's what a CEO looks like, So everything from managing your portfolio to so physical pursuits can be included. Either you're out in nature, getting along with trees and animals and your own body motion. And here's where we're like, do you enjoy sporting events? Do you enjoy participating in something in particular? Again, strong in terms of health. It can speak as well to relationships in the family. Kings can often can point toward fathers, and because there's so much that talks about family, so even if your father is on the other side, if he's already passed, that sense of how did he manage things. If he's still here on the planet, John, pentacles are better in person. I find it really interesting. By the way, swords are the closest suit connected to information communication internet, and they're not showing up here. So this is talking more about your physical, real, in-person life.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that you can't have an online presence. This especially really, really pins it down. So anything where you can spend time with your dad if he's here, and if there's a gravesite that's meaningful to you, sure, go visit it in person.
Fortunately, he's still here.
I'm happy for you both. Cool. Yay.
Okay, but that is interesting, because he is older, and I have my worries. Yeah.
Right? Which is,
Okay.
truly. And since these energies all play together, this sense of not only what makes you happy, but what makes him happy. If there are things that make him happy, are they easy to do for him? Things like that. You can even, query him. What do you want to do that would be cool? What would make you happy right now? So.
A question I probably should ask more. Yeah, interesting.
Well,
okay.
and start
now I have permission to do it. See,
see, and that's where it's good. That's using it in the good way, right? Yeah. And it's always, with almost any energy, it's that airline thing. Ask yourself first, and then do for everybody else. Because especially King of Pentacles does like to look after others. It likes to look after others' well-being.
That's interesting too.
Yeah. So if that's one of the roles that you've taken on as patriarch in the family. There it is, cool. And it's nice to know because it's promising a level of competence. It's not saying, oh, great, I'm going to fritter away all the resources or retire too early or, whatever other version of worries that we have. No, you're solid, as you grow into potential, So at this point, usually what I do is, because I'm I could talk about this stuff for a lot longer and we'd all be bored. So usually at this point...
It's fascinating.
Oh, cool. Good, Mike. I'm glad as an good.
Yep.
Good. At this point, I usually ask, are there any specific questions, anything you didn't understand, anything else?
First of all, thank you. And I'm glad this will be recorded because I'll be able to go back and review it a little bit and say, what did I miss?
Good.
How about personal symbolism or connection? Like if I told you that I'm a trained stick fighter, and you have all these wands, and particularly the Five of Wands energy, like this looks like chaos to most people, but I'm comfortable here.
Good.
What does that do for your interpretation?
It really doesn't change it a lot. It just says this is great. The fact that you don't have that extra step of having to get comfortable with being in the midst of chaos. Yeah, this is just where it's because again, if it's foundational to who you are in your life going forward at this point, great to be comfortable there. Okay. Yeah, really nice. Also, if you are literally a stick fighter, that's very cool. I mean, that's the sort of thing where, again, if I was psychic, and I'm the reason I try not to be is because I don't need to be open to stuff all the time. I can talk more about that if you want later. But it's not the sort of thing that when I am here, I am focusing and reading the cards, and sometimes something like that would come up, and I'd say, "Are you into one of the Brazilian whatever?" Yeah. But that's really cool. I mean, take it as if this is an activity that you really love, especially since physical activity shows up, man, make sure you're making the time to do it, but then also make time to put the sticks up.
Right. Right. So and this one definitely resonated with me. I asked about the family, but we try not, for reasons we went into before we started, we try not to talk about our jobs, but family transitions tied up with employment. And some of the things you're saying here are very much like, yes, I am beginning to feel a little burned out at the job I have right now. And one of the things I am thinking about is how to do knowledge transfer, how to mentor some of the people around me. I have been asked specifically by them because we just went through a promotion season, and there were people who did not make promotion, and they're like, John, please help me. What can I do? And I say, I have some thoughts. So when you're talking about those kind of transitions and sharing and community and found tribe and people, it is large. And you said it's larger than just your actual family. Some of that's resonating as well. Like, it's easier for me to start to deal with this if I think about what am I doing to help my community, not just my workmates or deal with the job. It really is more a case of me wanting to help the people around me that I do feel connected to.
That is brilliant. Yeah. I love that use of that. That's an amazing, that passing on the skills. Mm-hmm.
Not the stick fighting.
Right.
I do that too, but that's not the same group.
That's a good thing.
Usually, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Carrot and the stick takes on a whole different meaning with that one, right? Yeah. That is an amazing way. We used to talk about rabbis at work who used to, help the next generation come up, and continuity. And it's a way of being in charge without being in charge. You know, you do have a powerful impact on what's going on. Wands, by the way, often do refer to work, whether it's a career or not, but they do tend toward career rather than job, which is Pentacles, right? Wonderful. Now, if part of what would help with burnout would be an increase in salary, you decide whether it would make you happy to ask for an increase, but you will know better than I what the receptivity on that is.
Yes, well, that's we won't go into that at the moment. But
Understood.
That makes some sense to me as well, and I've already made a decision on that for the year. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So anything else, John?
What else resonated for me? I'm trying to think. You might have to edit this while I think.
It's okay.
Well, actually, let me push it to you as the observer, and certainly somebody I share a lot of my life information with. Did anything resonate for you in terms of what you're hearing from me over time? Because I heard a couple of mms over there.
Yeah, well, certainly your dad. I mean, but I'm less. Honestly, I was really just trying to push supportive energy towards you so that you could be receptive.
Cool.
Frankly, I tried not to do any tying in or connections or having leading information, putting that out there. I think work certainly resonated with me for you. I do have a question, but I'm going to save it to the end because I don't want to take the attention off of John. But there's a question that I have, and just to get your take on it, but after.
Sure. And one of the things that sometimes happens, when a friend has come in, is John turned to Mike, and that will happen with people. And I love it when if you want to ask your best bud, is there anything else I should be asking? Yeah. Go
Is there anything else I should be asking?
Well, I guess I don't know.
Anything you basically did that. So, but
so since you put it that way, which I will ask my question then, because maybe it is relevant, maybe it isn't. And then again, I really wanted to make sure I'm not trying to make it about me. But this morning, when I had mentioned the Five of Wands, I did draw that this morning with the question, what do I need to know today? And in my own intuitive method of using the deck, which I want to talk to you about, right? I'm not calling myself an intuitive, but I am saying that I just kind of follow my nose of what I think makes sense to me. And I did a little bit of a clearing. I did a little bit of, a method that I thought would make something stick out. And that which sticks out is what you need to see. So I took that card and I turned it over. It was not inverted. It was right side up. And so it was the Five of Wands. And so what is your take on that? As I would call that a synchronicity.
Right.
Right. And is it like, hey, be receptive for John today? That's what, when you see that, that's the significance. That's what you needed to know today, Mike, was to be there. It's going to turn up again. And again, I sat here towards him saying, I hope you get the reading of your life, or what you're looking for,
That's cool.
But what's your opinion on that?
I definitely agree on the synchronicity thing. I love synchronicities like that. I just think that's really cool.
It's like
but
right
also,
out of Jung's playbook.
Right, and you can look though too at the qualities that you share, especially, I mean, you can limit it to this podcast, but you can take it, throughout your friendship. This is an energy that is nonlinear, that is very inquisitive, very curious, interested in a lot of different directions, which, I mean, it sounds to me like it's a lot of what you do here together that you share. Now, of course, we're talking even more for each of you, but that's at least one of the connections there. Being willing to go totally nonlinear is basically what this is. And it's always an encouragement to accept more of yourself, to not try to civilize yourself into, whatever, highway living. This is the byways and the footpaths and all of that. And
that's an interesting way you put that, because we say, we are we provide this suburban view. We're both suburbanites and provide the suburban point of view. For right or wrong, this is where we grew up, and this is the view of the world that we have, and this is what we bring. We're not farmers. We're not city dwellers. It's funny that that the way you put that. Very interesting.
Yeah, cool. Anything else that?
Back to you, John. What do you think?
I think I'm done. In terms of my questions, I think I just need to go, pay attention to this and review it again and
Cool.
and move forward. But I think that was very helpful in focusing some of my thoughts about how things should go.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
And I like that sort of thing. And also, you brought up something that's really important. When I make these recordings, I make them for myself, but I also send them to whoever I've been reading for. Because you said, I'm glad it's being recorded because I can go back and listen. There's a lot of information, and it will hit you differently. And this reading could be applicable for more than just, today's questions. You may hear something in there that's useful later. So, cool.
Well, that was definitely something that now I'm going to blank because I am getting old. We spoke about the layers of meaning when you read into something. You can, what was it? Rereading a book and coming back and saying, I didn't catch that the first time through. It did not impact me, or but something is telling me to reread this book. I'm coming back to it. The layer of definition goes deeper, right? And aside from being sort of our hermetic principle, they say sort of, you gain the knowledge, and then you gain understanding, and then you gain wisdom, but you never go back to that original point of knowledge acquisition. You come back to knowledge, and it's different because you are fundamentally different from the last time you opened that book. But I love that you're applying it to the reading as well, that this information can come back to him in waves of layering after consideration and amalgamating. Was that coagula et salve, as the Hermetics say?
Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah. Cool.
So, just amazing. Well, thank you for this is extremely unique for us, and what a great experience for John as well.
Happy to do that, and thank you. Yeah, thank you for making it an easy place to do a reading. With God knows who else is at the other end of this, So
right.
We don't know. Actually, that's not true. We know a few.
We know a good number of folks who are out there. Yeah. I do have a question. So we had this 5-card setup. Can you walk us through? Is there sort of, this was the past, this is your present, future? Is there a way to sort of understand that?
It's a little bit different. There is sort of a past future in terms of this left side. Is that what we decided earlier? Is and it doesn't have to go in this direction. It just is for me when I put the cards down. This is not really past. It's past but coming forward. So parts that are already integrated, and this is sort of future because it's development that's unfolding and has a lot more to unfold than this. This stuff tends to support where we're moving here.
Gotcha.
And this is not so much present as that. In a way it is, because it's central to what's going on, but it's like the central important thing for you to know. And this is what goes on in the background. This is, this sense of, oh my God, I'm actually a success here. I've actually accomplished some stuff. This is really cool, So if there's been community recognition or, retirement parties are a good thing with this kind of an energy,
I was just at a retirement, not mine, unfortunately, but I was just at a retirement party on Friday. It's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah, notice what would make you happy when it gets to your own retirement party.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want one at all.
The retiree, if I want one at all, I sure do. Yeah, the retiree hugged me. I was kind of pleased. I didn't know that he cared.
That sounds meaningful. Okay.
Nice. It was meaningful.
Wasn't expecting
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, good. So I know we've touched upon a lot of what we sort of had lined up in our agenda here, but I mean, we had talked about after John's readings that we would have the reactions and insight, but then we would talk about sort of the mechanisms. What are we tapping into? Did we connect with John's higher self? Did we connect with his unconscious self or deep conscious self? Where do you fall in that thought process?
Yeah, what just happened?
I know, right?
Because it was meaningful. I would tell you as an observer, I saw him react. And where is that reaction coming from, do you think?
And I think it's all levels. I don't think I'm just tapping into superconscious, what is it, ego, id, and I don't remember anymore, sorry. But I think it's that totality. So, again, I think it's that idea of we are able to connect with each other. And you see it a lot in children, before they've had it trained out of them, especially, and I know sometimes a screaming child is like everybody's last nerve, but, dialing down the ability for children to feel what they feel. They don't have to dump it all over everybody all the time as they learn to manage their emotions, but those places where we shut off parts of ourselves, it's not that we lose the connection, we just lose the ability to read off of it, So I think it's just playing I'm trying to do language here on something that I've always felt like, I don't know, I would win the lottery if I knew.
Yeah.
But that whole idea of connection, of energetic connection between all of us, I think of it, I don't necessarily use this image, but I think it's a useful one, is that sense of both John and I were plugged in to whatever that mass central place is, so we were able to do the exchange, whether it was verbal or not, and then I set the attention and just when I'm pulling the cards out, I'm not, 4 from the left, 5 from the right, whatever. Right. I'm just going, okay, this is what feels like John for this position.
Yeah.
Staying plugged in. So it's, it is very much about that metaphysical unity lived in a practical, limited universe. And this is one of maybe doorways, gateways to access that. I don't happen to think that we can access all of it all at once, because our brains are limited, neurological features. And I'm
that's what they say about time. Time was invented so that we don't try and comprehend it all at one time.
Right.
It allows us to assess it as we go. Otherwise, because we do know it all. We are all connected, but there's no way for us to have it all in the moment.
That's definitely the paradigm from which I operate. So I think it's right making those connections in there. Yeah. And again, it's that idea. It doesn't have to be tarot cards. It could be runes. It could be sticks. It could be whatever you're looking at around you. The people who are able to just open themselves up and just get a sense of. That you had asked me if I was psychic, and I said I try not to be. There was a period in my life where I had to be very clean in my diet, and I had to be very very mindful about how I was living and all the rest of that. And I found I was intensely psychic, and I absolutely hated it. I don't want to be in the doctor's office worried about the scarf that I didn't bring because the lady across from me was freaking out about where her scarf is, or somebody else worrying about his family and how are they going to deal when he's losing his job as I'm walking past him on the street. And to have to shield all the time, I was like, I think I'm going back to pizza.
Wow. So you attribute the psychic ability with a clean bodily cleanliness.
For me, that seems to be a connection.
Wow.
There are plenty of people I know who are psychic who do not live any sort of a clean life, and I'm like, how do you? They just know how to shield all the time.
That fascinates me.
It is, and I think that's that for me. When I go through my process and I put the cards down, I insist on I'm just going to read the cards, but I'm sure other stuff slips through. I'm setting up a way to be plugged in. I think the people who are psychic and intentionally or unintentionally so are often plugged in just all you time.
Interesting. Yeah.
Again, opinion.
That's fascinating.
I don't know anything particular. That's just my guess based on what I've experienced.
You've thought about this, I think, maybe before, certainly because you made such a clear distinction. I find that fascinating. I will be looking that up. That's interesting. I find that interesting because I try and eat as cleanly as possible myself. And mostly because when you decide, well, I'm going to see what it feels like to be clean, right? As few chemicals as possible. When you go back it hurts a lot. And you sort of have to rehabituate yourself to certain things, and you start to wonder, well, is it worth it? And then it kind of opens up a weird thing. But I do remember when at the same time I was cleaning up my diet, I feel as though my IQ points went up like 2 or 3 points.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, a significant change. That doesn't sound like a lot, but IQ points carry a lot of weight, right? A 1 or a 2 is a significant jump. And it felt that way. I felt like my mental processing was improved. So I don't want to rut us here, but I find
so
that
this is very Five of
awesome,
Wands, right? This is very Five of Wands. You know, oh, look, that path. Oh, look, this connection. Oh, that, you know.
We do that all the time.
Right?
Yeah, I'm actually, I was over here, biting my tongue. Don't draw him off. Don't make too many jokes. Don't do that. Yeah,
But it's great, isn't it? It can be a really exciting energy. Yeah. I also wonder how much neurotypical and neuroatypical, our individual wirings can factor into all of this too. So
this is fascinating. I've never heard it put that way. So thanks for letting me divert for a minute.
I also want to mention ions is what Noetic Sciences, right? Because they do a ton of research.
Dean Radin.
Right.
I'm very familiar with all that work.
Yeah. So I don't know if they've done any research in that direction, but also the Monroe Institute, which you mentioned. I wonder if there's a lot of people. I don't know if the Association for Research and Enlightenment does a lot of research these days. That's the Edgar Cayce people. Yeah. But there are a lot of people who have done a ton of looking into this, and with more and more science, especially the brain sciences, I would expect that there's way more than. I used to keep a little current on that stuff, and it's been a lot of years. Well,
there's a lot to dig in there. I mean, a lot of faiths will dictate fasting, which is another way to cleanse the body, right? There's fasting is associated with divine experiences. You would go to the mountaintop to meditate for 5 days with nothing to eat, and take only water with you.
Our Native American
sort of a
traditions.
vision quest.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or going into a Hogan or a smoke or the sweat house and dehydrating to have a vision. All of that's related to the body and what it tunes the body, right? The brain as an antenna, so to speak.
I love that image, that idea of antenna, right? Another way of looking at that. How do we connect? And people who use substances for that, ayahuasca and any of the others, magic mushrooms, all that stuff.
Absolutely. That's in the backlog. That's in our backlog. We look at ayahuasca and DMT. Great. We know the brain has DMT in it naturally. And the supposition is that the application of the right pressure on the pineal gland actually will release DMT so that you have that very drug feeling induced reaction. And ayahuasca is frowned upon by a lot of people, but there are a lot of people that are going for their mental health, but also they're going as journeyers, right? They want to see what's beyond. What are they experiencing? What does the drug do to? They call it I think it's associated with the term the God particle. So there's a lot to dig in there, and I don't want to go on and on.
And this is what y'all are doing is such fertile ground because there is so much,
There's so much unknown.
Yeah, there's a
lot unknown. Well, so let me ask you a question. Do you feel like at any time you channel another voice? Has that ever been something that you feel like has happened to you?
Probably closely. I probably experience it more as saying something that I didn't expect I was going to say. Occasionally someone will ask me if there's anything on the table that relates to someone from another side, someone who's passed, someone who's died, or someone who's in a coma, someone who's otherwise unreachable. And I will occasionally, look for messages that way. So in that way, kind of channeling. I tend to stay away from anything that might... I'm not saying that channeling leads to possession. I'm not saying that you have to be possessed to channel. I just tend to stay away from things like that.
Gotcha. Understand. So. And on the other side of the table, have you ever seen anybody make a transformation before your eyes?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. On the regular. It's amazing. I love watching, especially people who Oh my gosh! This is part of what stuns me on the regular. Someone will sit down and I think, wow, boy, what an amazing person. You just again, that sense of just being able to read somebody. And then you discover that they're so out of touch with whatever. They think their life story is just regular. And then, through this, I can point out, excuse me, maybe not. And I watch the light come on. Other things that happen often is people who are up against situations where they do not see a way through. And to be able to see, again, it's always that sense of enlightenment, the light coming on, a moment of aha, perspective shift, however we want to call it.
Interesting.
So, something that occurred to me earlier, and I didn't get to quite fit it in. When people go to Ren fairs, they often put on a mask in order to be their real selves.
Yeah.
Do you see any...
That's a great question, yeah.
Do you see any difference between reading at the Ren fair and maybe some of that coming through versus your regular clients? Your
Not so much.
Okay.
It's the big difference is just, at Ren Fair, they've got maybe 15, 20 minutes with me. And most clients are either half an hour or an hour, so we're digging deeper. But yeah, it's really interesting that...
Well, do you see a difference with just the masks now?
No.
Okay.
No, the observation you make, though, about people who are dressing up to be who they really are, I just think that's cool. I'm sorry they can't do it in real life because I love it. I mean, if I could say there's one thing I want to do for anybody who sits with me, I want you to be able to be more of who you are. We want more John, more Mike, not less, not the amputated.
It's not what Mike tells me.
Well, so I do say that. But in this case, though, the masks that we have to put on are podcasters, and we have a group of listeners. Now, we lament that we can't kind of know what they're saying or thinking, but we can think of what we can perceive that there is an audience, and we pretend we understand what they're thinking, or who they would be, or what would push them away, or what will bring them to us. And so a lot of times we say, yeah, we're bringing ourselves to this, yes, but we're also creating a product. And if we're saying we're a paranormal podcast, but then we're saying none of it exists, is it actually a skeptic podcast, a skeptical podcast? So I just try to make the message match, what the product is supposed to be. And not to say that we deny ourselves, but at the same time, we have to be realistic about the product. Yeah, but it's a growth process.
Well, and
it's
that's
a process of growth.
And I guess a lot of what I consider normal looks like paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess as we redefine what is normal, and I always thought paranormal was just an interesting word because, para is
above
the normal. Yeah. Well, and maybe
or out of the norm, like paratrooper, the trooper.
Oh, is that what that is? That's interesting. I think linguistically, I always came from like Spanish para.
I got you.
For the normal.
I got you.
So good, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the whatever etymology is that whatever. Anyway, if we're thinking in terms of above the normal, it's kind of like some people are really good basket players and have above normal skills.
Right.
I've just been involved in this and have thought this way and have, lived within this stuff for a lot of years, so I may be outside the normal, but it doesn't have to mean spooky.
Right.
It's
we've
part of what we do.
Well, and we've said that from the beginning that it's not just spooky.
Right.
Yeah.
It can be. I mean, I definitely But,
and we've run up against very recently where there's a tendency to see it just strictly as entertainment. Which it certainly is. It is entertaining because I enjoy hearing these stories. They're interesting, or I've never heard a story quite like that. But on the other hand, we can talk about a possession and say, oh, I can't wait for another possession story. But someone lived that possession, right? I mean, whether you believe that a demon was in this person's mind or not, or in their body or not, or whether it was just a psychological affliction, we're enjoying they're suffering,
Yeah.
and so
Not really the case. But
yeah. I mean, and even an alien abduction. If you listen to some alien abduction stories, they're not all great, And some women will tell you that my abduction led to me losing the baby that I had. And again, it's a story. It's very hard to believe for many people, but those are the stories that come forward. And whatever you want to believe about it, this person is suffering that, right? And so anyway, and that's why we talk about the mechanism. And I thought it was interesting that you say, you have been in this, I'll just say that world or that realm or that way of thinking for so long, it is your normal. Where others would say, oh, wait a minute, Melanie's come to a paranormal podcast, but she's talking about her everyday experience. We also,
what is normal?
That's
really what it comes down to.
That's right.
We say normal, but
right. Well,
how many billion people on the planet?
Right.
Well, that's like the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab, the PEAR Lab, if you're familiar with that. That gets a lot of disdain from the mainstream academic schools that are there, but the engineering team in that lab, they shut down that lab because I think it got a bad name at Princeton, and all the Ivy League schools says we can't have people looking at paranormal because it's not popular.
Is that associated or similar to like the random number generator that Dean Radin and the rest of them use?
They would have done the same thing, and what they're looking at.
I wish they wouldn't shut down that research. I just think it's an important part of the human condition.
It is.
And it's a tool that would be amazing to be able to use.
Yeah.
Again, and always a disclaimer, all of this is just my experience, my opinion on tarot. It is not the definitive thing on tarot.
Yeah.
And if there's somebody who's listening who still thinks it's bunk and garbage, keep thinking it's bunk and garbage. It's fine. It doesn't impact me at all.
Yeah.
And if it's opened up something for somebody for a different way to look at their life, yay! As long as it serves you well, I'm delighted. I also do not. It's you. You're the one who's made the change. I just showed up and did this thing.
Right.
And it's really all on you and yay you.
Right. Right. Well, as I know there was another area we wanted to talk about, and it seems like a good segue is what are the pitfalls of tarot. And human beings have a way of medicating with lots of things, right? We self-medicate with food or alcohol or tobacco, but some people may need that daily guidance. Have you run across anything like that?
Yes, and I will not. If John had come to me with a what should I do question, I would tell him, here's my input. This is just one of your inputs. You have to make the decision. If somebody's coming to me to tell them what to do, that's way beyond the scope. Right. Even if you meet a reader who has been spot on and has really helped you to see which direction to go, you still have to go in that direction. So thinking that a tarot reader is going to be the authority figure that's going to fix your life, please don't. Absolutely. I love if you value our input, yay. That's what we're here for, but you still have to put it in context of you and how you're going to handle things. If you think that you're going to a tarot reader who's going to tell you what to do, as I said, let me just tell you the future and you just go ahead and be a victim to it, you just stopped living. You stopped participating in your life.
You've handed away your agency.
Yeah, that's an interesting statement. You stopped living. Yeah. Okay.
You're just existing now,
Yeah, well, I mean, people will argue whether there's even free will or not, right?
Yeah,
and there's their arguments of, the true mechanism of consciousness. Some folks think that you can roll all the way back to the Big Bang and mathematically explain it all, and that nothing that you've done is your own choice.
And they may be right.
And they could be. I think we're starting to untease some of that, but to someone to hand it away, even if it is an illusion, it's sad.
Right. So that's my big right. And I loved your analogy to medicating. Yeah. It can also become a way to avoid life. So that John's life is not on the table here in these 6 cards. There's a lot more to it than that. So thinking that I'll just keep track of my life by my morning or nightly reading or whatever. No, that does not mean that you can't use a regular tarot reading, or that literally you can't put a card out for yourself daily you know, if you want to. That's it, as long as it's just part of actually living in the world, you know.
Yeah.
It's similar to that idea of, you know, social media is useful, and sure, you can scroll and get a lot of information, but are you getting away from that screen and actually doing a life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a reason they call it
You
the
know.
doom scroll.
So
Right?
this is a guidebook, but it's not
That's,
the SOP or the procedure.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's brilliant. That's
Okay.
good, right? The guidebook or the map. You are not living in your Rand McNally Atlas,
Right.
which, sorry, old people reference. You know,
They're listening.
I-
Let them have
I
it.
understand.
They're listening. They're going to thank us.
Get me my cane.
They're
Mike.
like,
Right?
we're Gen Xers, and you know, we've got that crowd out there. They're like, yeah, we get that.
yeah. So
It's
right.
a
So being
map
able
book.
to use all your senses and really engage in all of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The math book equation is not going to. It might describe what's there, but it's not what's there.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I'd be curious. Well, this would be my final question to you, and then I think we can let you get back to your life. But I have read deep. No, I shouldn't say deeply, but I've read more than one book on rune casting and use of runes,
Oh yes.
and the popular and I will use air quotes commercial runes out there. The Ralph Blum's book on runes. There are others that look down on it, but it's still just a tool, right?
That's my
It's a
take
mechanism.
on it. I don't use runes, but to my understanding, it's just another tool.
Yeah, yeah. And in the book, he makes a statement that says, and hopefully one day you'll get to the point in your life when you no longer really need the runes, which I thought was such an interesting statement. I wonder what your reaction might be to that.
Yeah, I actually love that. You know, that's that idea of an instinct, emotion, intuitional. I think of it as multi-strand yarn or rope or whatever, where it's so well woven that you have the internal prompt either from your emotions or from your instinct or from your intuitive voice that you. I mean, and there are plenty of people who come to me where I'm just validating what they already knew.
Interesting. That's interesting because that's
that
my
permission
thought about
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. That the
I
idea.
feel a little bit validated rather than discovery here myself, to tell you the truth.
Cool.
That's interesting you point that out. Yeah.
Well, and that speaks to maturation, right? That
It can, yes,
like
absolutely.
cognitive-based therapy or cognitive-based therapy, CBT, which is the popular psychological method to bring folks through psychological trauma, right? Is really as well as talking about any particular issue, it's also giving them tools to help themselves through those times. You shouldn't go into therapy and spend your rest of your life in therapy. You have to understand.
Depending upon what you've dealt with.
Yeah,
Some people,
I mean, the idea would be that you get to a point when you hear your own prompts, and so I find it interesting because I think one way to put this is you're helping somebody connect with what they already know,
yes,
which is to say their own intuition. And John is giving evidence of that in my mind. As an observer, John is saying you validated what I felt, and you've helped it. You've mirrored it to me.
Yeah, you've helped pull some of it together, but I do
Great.
feel far more validated than I discovered something new out of this reading. It was things I was already thinking about. Maybe in a more distant, maybe that's the chaos in some ways.
Well, but
Yeah.
and that's great
Yeah.
because yes, sometimes there is actual discovery,
Yeah.
you know, but I don't think that's necessary. It depends upon where you are in your life and what you know what you need going forward. What's the best? Again, the intention that I said. What's the best tools that I can give for whoever's across the table?
And in my mind, I see it as synchronicity. Right? It is the coincidence beyond chance.
Meaningful coincidence.
Meaningful coincidence beyond chance. And and I think folks come back for that, but they forget that they can provide that for themselves, right?
And
as long as they can quiet their mind and ask the questions.
Right. And a lot of it, you know, maturation, a lot of us live very informed and very experiential lives, but not always with a chance to mature various aspects of ourselves.
Right.
So for some, perhaps the involvement with a family is more important and more critical for their soul growth than maturing that finely woven strand that that gives them that internal feedback. It's quicker and easier to go to someone else. And yes, I understand, there's that sense of, but then are they really being a whole person? None of us are being a whole person.
That's right.
I'm sorry. This is we
we
do
can
the
strive
best we
for
can.
it. Yeah.
Right? And whether we're doing this lifetime or multiple lifetimes, there are particular calls in our various situations, and
certain
if
things
we
we've been
can-
asked to do with. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't mind filling in. Again, I just being, and I don't mind being a crutch. Somebody's broken their leg, they need a crutch. I'm fine, but if you don't need a stick to walk with anymore, this is not where you come.
That is an excellent way to put it. I love that. Well, Melanie, thank you so much. I am just over the moon with, just the depth of your knowledge and experience, and we could go down all these rabbit holes, and just love that you come right with us. I love it.
You filled in all the needs we had with
having
a tarot
and more so.
tarot expert in. I mean, you're always afraid that the person you ask will have something that just is missing. But it was beautiful. It was a wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful experience having
Really
you
enjoyed it, and I
Good.
want to emphasize again. Even if I'm a tarot expert, I'm just some local. There are a lot of us out here. There are amazing, and there are people well beyond my knowledge level and my skill level too. So
Okay, well,
you were a great place
what
to
if-
start.
So
for
if
sure.
you've inspired somebody to have a reading done, and maybe they want to explore, how do we
Right.
find you?
Easy ways to find me in public is the Virginia Ren Fair in the spring. Down in
That's
Spotsylvania County, where
For now, it's at Lake Anna, right?
Yeah, Lake Anna Winery. I'll be at the Maryland Ren Fest with the Tarot Guild, and that starts in, I think, the middle of August and runs through most of October.
so that's
So
coming
I'll
up.
be there.
Yep. Okay.
There's also a lovely little fair that is new meaning within the past 10 years, in Moorestown, Virginia, and it's called Ravenwood. I'm there for the second weekend, which is like one of the last weekends in October. They are a lovely little fair. All the Ren fairs are wonderful, but this is fairly new. And then my website, the word transformation followed by the numeral 3.net.
.net. Okay, we'll make sure we'll put the link in the show notes. So
Great.
people
That has
in this. Yep.
that has all the contact information for me and everything else. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that you've enjoyed your time with us, and we hope that you would come back maybe one day. I can think of some topics where we may invite you back, if that would be okay, and we can discuss that later. But thank you so much again. We really had
Thank you.
an awesome
You're
time.
welcome so much, and thank you. I had fun. It was like just sitting and yapping with friends.
Yeah,
So I really appreciate that.
That's
Real
what
pleasure.
we
That's
hope
the
to
goal.
achieve. Yep, that's the
Cool.
goal.
Absolutely.
Success. You did it.
Awesome.
It's like, go on.
Well, thank you,
Cool.
Melanie.
You're welcome.
Well, what a great discussion.
It was wide ranging, but yet so on point. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really fantastic. I loved it. Yeah.
Well, she's a star. And, John, you get points too for being read on a podcast, having your tarot cards.
I was vulnerable.
Yeah, you were vulnerable
I was
there.
vulnerable. Right
It
now,
was a
women are
good-
swooning. He's so vulnerable.
I can only hope for your sake. And hopefully just your wife is swooning.
Well,
is she going to listen?
Does she swoon anymore? She's
I don't
my
know.
wife.
Probably not.
Yeah, no. No, we didn't. Something we didn't bring up in the course of the interview, because we didn't want to drag her off, was the fact that I have been known to read tarot cards.
Yeah, you didn't mention that.
No, I didn't.
That's
but I'm
okay.
mentioning it now.
Yeah,
and I
she'll
did
hear-
it.
Yeah.
I did it specifically to meet girls. I
well,
did it back in school days. Yeah.
yeah, but I guess if you're pretty intuitive, I think you maybe help them out a little.
I'm
bit.
sure I did.
Yeah. Jesus. Don't do that look ever again. That's really not appropriate for a podcast. All right. Well, again, we just want to say thank you to Melanie again. We enjoyed having Melanie on so much, and we're hoping now, as a friend of the podcast, that she'll come back.
I think she'd be open to come back.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And we had a great discussion after the tape stopped rolling.
Yeah,
So
she
it
was
really
yes,
awesome.
and she was very modest. And after the tape stopped rolling, and we talked to her for a while, and we said, you should come back. She said, "Oh, I don't know that I've got anything," but that's not true.
No.
Being trained by the Theosophical Society, having that kind of experience with them, I think is we have not talked about that. That is a whole area we should touch on with Madame Blavatsky
I agree.
and her lineage.
I agree. And
Yeah.
maybe, and certainly we can bring Melanie back to get her point of view. I think that's a good idea. And hopefully, Melanie, we've just talked about it in public, so hopefully you're up for it.
Yeah.
But again, we were really happy to bring you Melanie's reading capability. And if you want to get in touch with Melanie, she gave you that contact information. We'll make sure it's in the show notes. So go see Melanie and have your cards read. Open up your mind.
Yeah, it was fun. You should do it.
I agree. Yeah, it's my turn now. I think I'll
think
go
it's
and
your turn
visit
next.
her and out west here and have my cards read and bring some good questions. Is what I'll do. All right. Anything else?
No.
No, that's it. We've done it. All right. We'll see you next week for episode 7.
7.
See ya.
Bye.